What's up, everybody? It's your boy J-Rod. Nah, I can't do this video sitting down. You know, you gotta get your lighting. It's all about the lighting. I think that looks good. What's up, everybody? It's your boy J-Rod, and welcome to the channel. Y'all got questions, I got answers, so we're just gonna I got questions. What's up, everybody? It's your boy J-Rod. Y'all got questions, I got answers, so we're just gonna jump straight into it. By the way, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Alright, so basically in my last video, I was talking about how there were Canadian citizens who were traveling overseas and they're getting stuck abroad in these foreign countries. And recently on January 26th, the United States has also followed Canadians' lead, where they are now requiring COVID tests upon entry of the country. So I think Canada, they were doing it like a couple of weeks before the United States. Well, now the United States has implemented that, like I had noted in my previous video. So in order to enter the United States, if you're coming from international, like overseas, if you're trying to come inbound to the United States, now you do have to have a COVID-19 test. Well, the issue is there are some travelers who, you know, they go to these foreign countries and they try to get their test, because the rule is you have to get your test within 72 hours of your flight. When they're trying to get their results back, it was taking longer than 72 hours, which meant that they had to get retested again, they had to buy a second test, and they had to extend their vacation at their own expense, okay? So that was the first scenario. And then the second scenario is people, they tested positive and then they had to quarantine for 14 days in that foreign country, okay? So those are the two things that were going on right now. And after I had posted the video, if you didn't see the video, I'm gonna leave a link to it right up here. But yeah, that situation is kind of bad, especially for people who got jobs, because, you know, some people were like on the verge of losing their jobs. And then, you know, if people have like families or whatever, like maybe they got kids that they got to take care of, and it's like you're stuck in another country. So after I posted that video, I got tons of responses on that video. Like I got a bunch of comments, and then I was getting people messaging me on Instagram. So I picked like the best questions I felt that needed to be answered, or questions that I feel that people could really benefit from. So I'm just gonna kind of go through them on my phone real quick. All right, so the first question: if I took the COVID vaccine, is it still mandatory for me to have a test? So yes, as of right now, even if you did have the vaccine, you still have to take a COVID test upon entry of the United States. Once again, 72 hours before your flight back to the United States. And the only reason why they're still requiring a test, even if you take the vaccine, is the fact that the vaccine does not keep you from getting COVID. You can still get COVID. The only difference is the vaccine is supposedly supposed to reduce the symptoms that you get, like if you were to be infected with COVID. It's supposed to make it less deadly. So yeah, that is why you're still required to have a COVID test, because you can technically pass it on to somebody else who doesn't have the vaccine, and it could affect them. Another reason they're still requiring a COVID test, even if you took the vaccine, is because there are different variants of the virus around the world. And the two vaccines that they got out right now are the Moderna and the Pfizer. Those are the two vaccines that are effective for COVID in the United States. There are also more variants of this virus located in other parts of the world. Like I know there's a new strain in South Africa, there's one in the UK, and there also is a new strain in Brazil. So we don't know if the Moderna or Pfizer vaccine is as effective in terms of protecting you against the virus, against those variants. So that's why they still require a COVID test. By the way, I know all this information because I work in a hospital with COVID-19 patients. I think I said that in my last video. I'm also a Spanish medical interpreter for the people who are new to my channel. So I deal heavily with this pandemic right now. My job, like that's all I deal with is COVID-19, and also medical interpreting for the Latino patients. So I'm very hands-on with this whole COVID thing. Is there a mandatory quarantine when you come back to the United States? All right, that is a very, very good question, okay? So right now, Biden's administration, they have not officially made it mandatory yet, but they're in the works of doing it right now. As of right now, he's only recommending that you do a 14-day quarantine when you come back for vacation. It's not mandatory, but that could change in the future. Now, my only concerns about that right now is that if they do make it mandatory where you have to quarantine upon entry of the United States, are they gonna make it mandatory like in a hotel, or is it gonna be like, you know, at your home? Because if they're trying to make you quarantine, like let's say, for example, you have like a layover, because, you know, a lot of people who travel internationally, they have layovers in different cities. So like, let's say, you know, I'm coming back from Jamaica and then I got a layover in Miami, right? But my final destination is Atlanta. Am I gonna have to do a 14-day quarantine in Miami? You get what I'm saying? So like, those are the type of things that you need to be paying attention to. And Right now, his administration, they're coming up with a plan, but as of right now, it's not mandatory, but that could change in the future. And if it does, I'll let you guys know. And if that does become mandatory, that's gonna be really bad for people who have jobs, because technically you're gonna have to take off 2 weeks plus the time you're taking your vacation. So like, for example, if you go on vacation for like a week somewhere, you're gonna have to then factor in another 2 weeks for when you come back from vacation. So you're basically gonna be taking 3 weeks off, and most jobs are not gonna allow that if your job is like really strict and stuff. That's something you need to keep in mind and pay attention to if they start making quarantine mandatory. All right, next question. Testing sites in the Dominican Republic. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you the link to all the testing sites that are approved by the government. This is on the official government website of the testing sites in the Dominican Republic. And I'm also gonna leave you a link for all the other countries, because people was asking me about countries that I had no idea about. So, all right, so if you click on the link in the description box where I have the link for all the countries, and if you click on the country, it's gonna tell you everything you need to know about traveling to that country during the pandemic. It's gonna tell you entry, exit requirements, rules, regulations, curfew, testing locations, pretty much everything you need to know about vacationing in that country during the pandemic. So, because I know I get people who was asking me like, what are the testing sites in Colombia, and what about, you know, the testing sites in Mexico and all these different places. So that's testing locations. Now guys, this is really important, the turnaround time, okay? I know that these are approved places according to the government's website, but just because it says 72 hours does not mean that it's guaranteed 72 hours. Once again, I told you I work in a hospital and I work with COVID laboratories, so I know how things get. You know, we even tell our patients 72 hours, but sometimes it's not like that. And I believe on certain countries, like it'll even say that just because it says 72 hours, it doesn't mean that it's guaranteed. So guys, please make sure that, you know, you contact the place that you're trying to get the COVID test and really try to verify this information, or talk to other people who have already traveled to the place that you're trying to go, because it's not guaranteed. And once again, this is going to be really bad if you try to pay for a COVID test 72 hours before your flight, and then you don't get your results back in time, and you have to pay for another test, and you have to extend your vacation. You don't want that to happen. So my biggest piece of advice is contact the laboratories, make sure that it's 72 hours in advance. Also contact and talk to other people to see were they able to get their results back in 72 hours, because if not, you're really gonna be in a tight situation. One useful tip that I'll give you guys if you're trying to contact people who are traveling right now is, if you have Facebook, go onto Facebook travel groups. Okay, because you'll be able to connect with people who are already traveling. Like, I'm in a lot of different Facebook travel groups. I follow like a lot of Black travel groups, but I do some other ones as well. Those are good resources to be able to talk to people, because there are people right now in these travel groups that are traveling in the places that you're trying to go to, and you can like make little statuses. You know, I'm trying to go somewhere for my birthday. I'm not gonna tell y'all where the place is because I want it to be a surprise. And I wrote on the Facebook travel group, you know, asking where can I get tested in the country that I'm trying to go to. And I got like a lot of replies from people who had already been traveling there recently, and they were telling me like, oh, you need to go here, it costs this much, blah, blah, blah. So join Facebook travel groups and get connected with people who are already traveling, so that way you can do some research. You know exactly what to expect, because there are already other people that are traveling right now. And you know, on those travel pages, they upload photos and videos, and you get to kind of see what the country is looking like during the state of the pandemic, and you get to just ask questions. It's like a community of people you get to network with. So I definitely would advise Facebook travel groups. Will they accept rapid tests? Okay, so it really depends. It depends. So not all COVID tests are approved upon entry of the United States. You have to make sure it's the viral test, so it has to be the molecular NAAT test or antigen test. Molecular NAAT test or antigen test, those are the tests that will be accepted for entering the country. The resort I'm traveling to has testing on site. I won't have a problem. All right, so once again, some of these resorts, they're trying to like give out COVID tests, and you need to be careful with those as well, because those don't necessarily mean that they're going to be approved. To be honest, if it's not a testing site from the US government website, I just wouldn't do it. Like I said, it has to be a molecular NAAT or antigen test. Okay, those are the only ones that are accepted. Can I reuse a test that I took before my vacation? No, it has to be 72 hours in advance. So if you took a COVID test before your vacation and it came back negative, you will still have to take another one, because Once again, it has to be 72 hours before your departure back to the United States. What happens if my flight is delayed on my way to the United States and the 3-day time frame expires? Well, I still need to retest. So yes, unfortunately, if your flight does get delayed and it goes beyond the 72-hour period, you will have to get retested. Oh, in the U.S. Embassy, they already said that they're not giving out COVID tests. Of course, anything is subject to change, but as of right now, they said that they're not giving out COVID tests. All right, so we're on the last question, and this one is actually the most important one. So it says, what if I recently recovered from COVID? All right, so I talked about this in my last video. I said that there are some people who have recently recovered from COVID. Like, let's say they had it, and then they end up testing positive again. And I was telling y'all, you know, working in the hospital, I had patients who had COVID, they did the 2-week recovery period, and then they go for another COVID test and it still comes back positive, because like I told y'all in that last video that you can actually have COVID in your system for 90 days even if you're asymptomatic. So that is a huge problem, because let's say you go on vacation and you didn't get tested before your vacation, but like, let's say you fly over to a country and you're one of those people who did recently recover from COVID-19, but then as you're leaving your vacation, you try to leave and you take a COVID test and it comes back positive. Well, you're gonna be stuck in that country for a mandatory 14 days, okay? And depending on how long it stays in your system, it can go up to 3 months. So this is why I recommend everybody should do this. I recommend everybody to get tested before their vacation, so that way you can know if you're positive, because obviously if you're positive, you're not gonna be flying on the plane, and if you do, you're going to jail. All right, that's really messed up and that's selfish, people who fly knowing that they're positive. But anyways, so that way if your test ends up positive, you're not one of those people who fly over to a country and then you're trying to leave that country to come back to the States and then you have a positive test and you're like, wait. So please, I recommend everybody get tested before your vacation to make sure that you're negative, okay? Unless that country already requires it, because some countries, they do require you to have a COVID test. But if you're going to a country that doesn't require a COVID test, I would still do it. So yeah, that's it for the questions. So the biggest 3 takeaways that you want to take from this video, okay? Make sure you write this down, pay attention to this, all right? The first one, make sure you know where you're getting tested before you go on vacation. You need to already know specifically the laboratory, and make sure you got a couple of them, and also talk to people who are already on the vacation to make sure that you're gonna get your test results back in an adequate amount of time. The second biggest takeaway for this video is make sure you get tested before your vacation so you can assure that you have a negative test before boarding the plane and going out the country. And the third biggest takeaway from this video is make sure that you have an emergency fund just in case anything goes wrong. If you have to extend your vacation, this is a good time to use credit cards, okay? For people who might not have the initial funds, I would definitely take a credit card. You never know if you could get tested positive, and that's really the biggest thing about traveling right now. Will you be able to protect yourself if you get an emergency? So make sure you have some type of backup funds or a way to be able to pay for something if you have an emergency, okay? And you should already be able to do this, because trust me, emergencies do happen abroad. I done had a few emergencies abroad. So yeah, I just want people to be prepared and just realize that by you traveling right now, it's kind of a gamble. You can still do it, but you just need to make sure that you do your research and that you're educated. But yeah, guys, that's it for this video. You know where to hit me up, JRod600 on Instagram. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and catch me in my next one. All right, peace.